You don't have a DeLorean handy that you can kick up to 88 miles per hour to transport you back in time. Your next best bet are the wild spaces presets inside the LX480. And that's how you can take some drum samples that sound like this and wrap them up in neon goodness to sound like this. There's one parameter that makes these sounds possible, and that's DCO, or Decay Optimization. Now, for anything like me, you probably saw this parameter for the first time and went, the hell does this thing do? And it takes a second to wrap your head around it because it does a number of things at once. So we're going to break it down step by step. So as you can see, there are two modes, reverb and effects, and each mode has a range from 0 to 9. We're going to focus on the range first because it functions in a similar way for both modes, and then I'll walk you through what each mode does. DCO dynamically shapes how the reverb tail responds to the transient of the incoming audio. With a setting of 0, you can have a much more static tail where it's not reacting to the incoming transients. At a setting of 9, that tail is going to be really lively, really dynamic, depending on the transient information coming in. Now, to be clear, this is independent of the input level. You don't need to drive the unit any harder or softer for this to take place. DCO is reacting to the shape of the transient. Now, for most applications, this is probably set at around 7 in reverb mode for your halls, your plates, and your rooms. But where this starts to get really fun and into wild spaces territory is when we put it into effects mode. If you see my video on size, shape, and spread, I talk about how size, spread, and reverb time are all interconnected. Well, that's controlled by the DCO parameter. When DCO is in reverb mode, it creates a relationship between those parameters to keep you in realistic space territory. But when you push it into effects mode, it decouples those parameters and you can get some really wild results. This means you could have a size of 4 and a reverb time of 65 seconds if you want. But this decoupling has led to some of the most famous presets of all time from this unit. Presets like Buckram and Brick Wall have been on more snares that you can count in the last 40 years, and a preset like 10W40 is often used as a low-end extender of kicks and toms. And that's exactly what I'm using here. I've got 10W40 on the kick and Buckram on the snare, and that's how I go from drum samples like this to something larger than life like this. So if you like to live on the wild side a little bit, explore those wild spaces, and don't forget to explore DCO and what it can do for the reverb tail going from 0 to 9 in both reverb and effects mode. So have some fun, and I'll see you in the next one.